Hey everyone, what's going on? It's Pocket Moggers. Hope you're doing well today. Hope things have been going well for you recently. Belated happy Juneteenth. I wasn't able to make videos last week because I had a lot going on. Happy Pride Month to everybody. And 4th of July is coming around soon. That's great too for us Americans. Um, Having said that, today I have a video for you about 5 monster collecting game series that I think Pokemon fans should try. I think you'll enjoy them. They are all very fun in their own way. They have their flaws, but Pokemon does too, right? These series cross various consoles and various generations of hardware and things along those lines. So some of them will be more for older Pokemon fans, and some of them will be more for newer Pokemon fans. But I think all around, everybody can find something. If you like monster collecting games, you can find something to enjoy here. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's get started, shall we? So, number 5 on my list here is Temtem. Temtem is very similar to Pokemon. Like, very similar. Cut from the same cloth, has the same kind of thing going on with its world and its creatures and its environment and how the game is structured. It's got a bad guy team, all that going on. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to finish Temtem, quote unquote, whatever that means. It's an online game, so it doesn't really end, but you get the point. I wasn't really able to keep going. uh, I just kept thinking of playing Pokemon while I was playing Temtem because it was so similar. And I've endeared myself to Pokemon after years and years and years of playing it. So all it did was make me want to go grab that again and do that instead. Having said that, though, I'm not trying to knock on the game. The game is a lot of fun. The environments are good. The music is good. Characters are okay. It's got the same Pokemon problem going on where you can't really go too far with them, which I think is a pity, but I also do understand. I do have to say Temtem has really strong creature designs. One of them, Platimus, was supposed to be a Pokemon or was a fan design for a Pokemon, something along those lines, and wasn't allowed in for whatever reason it happens to be, which is a pity because it's the perfect Golduck evolution and really fits right in with all the other Pokemon. And there are a few of them that it's just like, wow, you really are just a Pokemon, huh? And then there are a couple of others that have their own identity, but still feel very solid. You know what I mean? They've got two different kinds of shinies in the game, which is fun. Um, again, it really is a good time. There's fun stuff to do. There's different types that you can learn about, and lots of cool designs. The evolution mechanic is fun, and yeah, it is a good time. I just think it's a little too similar for Pokemon for me to put it any higher than number 5. It's aping a little too hard on that whole thing. But I still highly recommend it. Give it a shot. If you've played Temtem and you enjoy it, let me know in the comments, please. I'd love to hear it. Okay, so number 4 on the list is SMT Devil Children or Demi Kids, depending on where you are. Over here it was Demi Kids. Over in Japan and other Asian territories, it's Devil Children. This is Atlas and SMT/Persona competing with Pokemon, doing their own Pokemon thing. It works really well. Many of your monsters in Persona, your personas, rather, demons that you make contract with in other games and stuff are all here. Their designs tend to be a little more kiddie to help the children who are picking up this game thinking it's a Pokemon game still be under that illusion. But they evolve into pretty impressive, fearsome looking creatures, a little edgier than Pokemon, more around like the Yu-Gi-Oh level, I would say. But still good. I don't mean edgy in a positive or a negative way, just that's just what it is, right? Um, so there's a lot of good here. It's a little grind heavy. These are older games from the Game Boy Color and the Game Boy Advance, so they're probably not for newer fans of monster collecting RPGs that have more QOL things added to their stuff that they're used to. But if you're an old head like me and you just like these monster collecting games, I think you'll have a great time. One of the fun things about these games is you switch protagonists just about every game, but you don't necessarily switch stories. So you will continue the plot from one game as one of the other party members in the story. And I think that's really cool. I think that's something that Pokemon could learn from, make a more direct series. The anthology stuff's cool. I'm actually a big anthology guy myself. So it's cool that Pokemon goes, well, what's going on in this part of the world and what's going on? Don't get me wrong. But I do think direct narratives would be a fun change of pace every once in a while. My only thing that I have to say against the series, and it's not really against the series, it's just a warning. If you're deeply religious or spiritual and you don't like people talking about these things in a more light way, if you have reverence and respect for religion and stuff like that, you're not going to have a good time with these games. Same thing with SMT and Persona. Just don't try those. You won't. They're just not for you, and I don't mean to be disrespectful, quite the opposite. I'm just trying to protect your sensibilities. Um, there's just nothing that you personally will get out of that. You'll probably find it a little sacrilegious, to be honest. And while I do understand, I'm not personally religious. I've never cared for that kind of thing. Culture is culture, and culture can be expressed in a whole bunch of ways. To me personally, so I find these games fun, but I do have to say, if those are your sensibilities, if you feel that way, don't try it. You probably won't have a good time. Check out one of the other ones on this list instead. Fossil Fighters, number 3. Fossil Fighters rocks. Yeah, that pun is intended and terrible, and I will not be apologizing for it. As longtime viewers of the channel know, I'm a big paleontology guy. I love paleontology. I love dinosaurs, everything about it. So in these games, you actually have to excavate the fossils like you did the digging in Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum, but more involved. You have to put the fossils together, you have to resurrect the fossils, and then you can battle with them. In the sequel games, the dinosaurs actually evolve like Pokemon and change their forms and gain new abilities and stuff. And all of that is cool too, I do have to say. But I also enjoy the original where it's just the dinosaurs themselves. There's a 3v3 battle mechanic. It's different than Pokemon, but it is fun. I think you'll enjoy it. It gets a little tiresome sometimes when you have to just keep at it, but otherwise, I think it's good. Um, the only big downside, in my opinion, to this game is the looks department. This game did not age particularly well. The artwork is fine, but the sprite work and the 3D graphics and the way the dinosaurs look and stuff, it's just very much a Nintendo DS game. And its sequel, it had a Nintendo DS sequel and a 3DS sequel. And the sequel is a little better, but still very much of its time. And the 3DS one looks a lot better, but has its own quirks. Anyway, having said all of that, I do have to say these games are really solid. They're some of my favorite monster collecting games that aren't Pokemon. Obviously, making an army of dinosaurs is cool. They give you a wide variety. Fossil Fighters 1 is a little light on it, I'd say. But as it goes on, it gets a lot better. And the evolved creatures also genuinely add stuff to their dinosaur counterparts, even if it's not exactly what's what I'm looking for? Where I would take it, you know what I mean? Sometimes I look at some of these evolutions and I'm just like, oh, okay, that's a very interesting take on what you've got there, but it never seems bad, just strange sometimes. But again, Fossil Fighters is a lot of fun. I recommend you try it if you haven't beforehand. If you have, let me know down below and let me know what your favorite dino is. Love to hear it. All right, so number 2 on this list, and the one that I've played the most of, besides Pokemon, is Dragon Quest Monsters. Dragon Quest Monsters was a much more direct competitor for Pokemon. It had versions. I do need to mention that the Devil Children games also have versions that you can trade between and stuff, but it's got the direct versions. You can trade with the link cable. There are exclusive monsters in them. It's very much trying to be Pokemon. And it didn't succeed, but it didn't fail either. It carved out its own niche. It's very much still around today, very successful. There's a new one coming out for the Switch too that I'm very excited to try out. You recruit monsters from battles in this franchise. It's not like Pokemon where you catch one after you've taken care of all the other ones. You just run into a horde of enemies and doing specific things and getting certain things and stuff. You recruit the monsters to come join you and help you out. And that element was always nice, especially with the little child protagonist. It's fun to think about, like, oh, here's me leading my army. It's not like Pokemon where they're like animals that you capture and then use for manual labor or keep as your pet or both, something like that. These are sapient, willing creatures that joined you, right? And it's fun to just think of, like, march, my army, march. Have you ever seen the Game Grumps animated about the Toad army with the bum 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 bum? I just imagine one of those protagonists from Dragon Quest Warriors leading an army of those slimes to that music as they just travel up and down the world. But yeah, these games are really solid. There's a lot of cool stuff. Bosses. Excuse me, guys. I'm so sorry. I had a bug fly into my throat. Bosses from earlier Dragon Quest games and series come into this series as recruitable monsters. So you can get not just bosses, but final bosses too, to just pal around with you and stuff. Even cooler, a lot of the times the Dragon Quest monsters protagonists are the lead protagonists or side characters from mainline Dragon Quest games when they're younger. So you get to learn a little bit more about those characters too and how they connect with the world. Dragon Quest Monsters is really solid. If you're a Dragon Quest fan, you're going to love it. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. And I really can't recommend it enough to people. I say try the newer ones, especially if you're a newer monster collecting fan, just to get, to dip your toes in. Try that first. And then if you really enjoyed it, maybe go back and try the other ones. But having said that, it's number 2, and it's number 2 for a good reason. Let's move on to number 1, okay? So number 1 here is Digimon Story. Digimon World DS and Digimon World Dawn and Dusk are actually Digimon Story games. They had that world title slapped onto them in order to get more sales and tie into what was already successful over in the United States, but they are part of the Digimon Story franchise, which is its own thing, more Pokemon-like. These games, they're grind intensive, they can be unclear a lot, the difficulty spikes are abrupt, and yet they're so much fun. In a lot of ways, I consider, especially the later story games, to be better evolutions of the Pokemon franchise. Pokemon likes to add new gimmicks every generation, and that new gimmick becomes like option number 4 or 5 after fight Pokemon. You know what I mean? It becomes this whole thing. But every time that they add a new gimmick, they take it away and then replace it with another one. They're not building on top of their old ideas. They're just scrapping their old ideas and replacing them with new ones. And to me, that's not really innovation. That's just disguising your new gimmicks as innovation. Right? They never feel like they really improve on anything that was established beforehand. They just feel like they're a new way to play it. And I don't really care for that. I think if you're going to have a series, you need to work on the series. You need to build on the foundation and diversify it and move it in new and improved directions, not just whatever direction you threw out of left field, at them and said, make them big now. Put little crowns on their heads. Make them made out of clouds. That's not innovation. That's just distraction. That's jingly keys. Don't pay attention to the fact that Pokemon's not any different than it was last generation. Pay attention to terrestrialization instead. You know what I mean? And Digimon Story is the opposite. Digimon Story can be vanilla to a fault, And yet it's because it is constantly innovating and updating its core mechanics. The new game, Time Stranger, blew me out of the water. Pokemon hasn't had a game as good as Time Stranger since the Nintendo DS, in my opinion. And it's getting kind of hard for me personally to justify comparing the two of them, because the Digimon story team actually wants to make new games, actually wants to improve, actually wants to do new things. I mentioned in the writing here that I have a Dexit comparison, and I do. Let me put it to you this way. Do you know how many Digimon there are out there, people? There are thousands, like with an S at the end. There are way more Digimon than there are Pokemon, right? And yet, Digimon stories games come out every time with like 300 or 400 Digimon. And you know who isn't complaining about the fact that there isn't any every Digimon in existence in it? Me. You know why I'm not complaining? Because Digimon story is innovating, because the gameplay is changing, and how these things are unlocked is changed, and what things are paired with what things are changed. And it monsters are not always there. My favorite Digimon is Tyrannomon, okay? And the Tyrannomon line is incredibly inconsistent in the Digimon story games. Despite how old and relatively popular the Tyrannomon line is, you're lucky to get two of the myriad members of the family in the games. Do I complain? No, because the game itself is new. The story itself is new. The mechanic is new. The worlds that we will be going to are different than the ones we were in before. You know, and these kinds of things are what make Digimon story stand out, and really put Digimon, in my opinion, Digimon story on the same level, if not a little above Pokemon, because it feels to me like the Bandai Namco Digimon story people actually want to be here, actually want to make new, good, successful games. And I don't get that out of Pokemon. I get, let's make the same thing we made beforehand because nobody's complained about it, so we'll just make the same thing but add a little, this little gimmick so that you don't realize. And, you know, I know that a part of that is just me, but it's not all just me. There are some very apparent signs that Pokemon just simply doesn't want to grow up. And I think that that's too bad, because Pokemon needs to innovate. It needs to be a game series. You know, the 3D Super Mario titles are radically different each iteration, and nobody complains because the people are looking at the movement mechanics and the world exploration mechanics, and even sometimes the characters, and saying, hey, this needs to change. We need to do something about this. Right? And if Mario can do that, then the series that makes more money than even Mario can should. Anyway, with that being said, I highly recommend you play Digimon Story, especially Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth, Hacker's Memory, and Time Stranger. Modern monster collecting fans will have an absolute blast with it. I do have to warn you, Digimon designs can be a little questionable sometimes. So if you are a younger fan and you are looking into this stuff, I would recommend maybe waiting a little bit, like little, not like, 15, 16 years old, but like 8. You know what I mean? There's just some designs in there, and some character designs in there and stuff, and some themes that I just don't think are appropriate for younger fans. I think by the time you're like 10, it's whatever. It is what it is. But I would say, like, baby's first monster collecting game, don't get them Digimon Story, okay? But if you're older, even, like, let's say 12, okay? That's where I'll put the final line on. Let's say if you're 12 and up, you'll have a good time. At first, you'll wonder why I made that statement, but you'll probably understand it as the series goes on, or the game goes on. Anyway, enjoy them. They're so much fun. Some of the best RPG games out there, and definitely the best as that monster collecting has to offer for fans. So, Digimon Story, give it a shot. Thank you all so much for stopping by. This is the end of the video. Do you have any other monster taming games you like or you would like to mention? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear it. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Quickly, I'd like to give Monster Hunter Stories a shout out. I've only beaten the first one, so I really don't feel like I can talk about the quality of the whole series, but that first one left a strong impression. I definitely recommend it for people, especially people who like the monsters of Monster Hunter, but like me, aren't too big into the core gameplay itself. Monster Hunter Stories is a nice shift in a different direction. Having said all of that, have a great day. Let your loved ones know that you love them. I'll see you all in the next one. And yeah, that's it. Bye.